record?
Awesome.
Awesome. Hello.
All right, we're here. So real quick before we jump in, I wanted to just open it up for some celebrations, and I wanted to call out one person in particular, even though they're not on the call. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Brianna Novak for committing to coming to ICU in Chicago this weekend. And just it's Sunday today. The event starts on Friday, and she committed. So it is not too late for anyone else to join, anyone on the call, or anybody who is catching the recording. Especially if you live in Green Bay, you can ride with us. So it's not too late. Events are life-changing. So I just wanted to call that out and see if anyone else had any celebrations from their own week.
I never wished I lived in Green Bay so much as I do right now.
For many reasons.
And I'm wearing the shirt too to make people feel Green Bay.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, since our last visit, the boys are like, when are we going back to Green Bay? When can we go to Green Bay? And every time we talk about the football team, it's like, Green Bay! We've been here.
Is it Green Bay or Water Park?
Well, they correlate both of them, so it's like one of the best on earth ever.
That's awesome.
I love it. Adorable. Well, I have been having some super powerful conversations this week and some new team members who are going to be joining. So that is my celebration. I think what I would just share with everyone is, do not be afraid to paint a big vision of what's possible for people's lives, for the products and the business, because those are the kind of conversations I've been having this week. And I will share more. I'm not going to leave you just hanging. What did you say to those people? We'll actually work a little bit of that into this follow-up conversation, because some of these have been conversations that have been going on for a while. And that's just further proof of what Jen titled this, which is that the fortune is in the follow-up, because oftentimes the people who are going to make the biggest difference in your team, by partnering with them, sometimes take the longest and just take a little while and a certain number of follow-ups before they see the vision. But it's worth it for the people who would just do amazing with this type of business, this type of opportunity, and who you just would love to partner with. So I'm excited for that, and I'll be introducing some new faces in the team very soon. So that's my victory shout out.
That's an awesome result.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want me just to dive in, Jen, and then we'll kind of dialogue back and forth on this topic?
I think we want to hit on the same kind of outline that we always do around mindset, and then go right into actionable steps and language hacks. So I'm excited to have Lindsay just dish on the mindset around follow-up.
Yeah. Because like anything, it truly is our mindset that dictates our success in this business, specifically around the area of follow-up. And we've been building up to this conversation, right? We've been talking about how do you start new conversations, engage in conversation, and then every single person that you have a touch point with should almost kind of filter in to a list of some kind where you have a plan for circling back with that person. And I truly mean every single person, even those you don't hear back from, even those who kind of give you a little bit of the brush off, unless someone says, which in 9 years, I've never had someone say, don't you dare ever talk to me about Isagenix again. Never. Of hundreds and hundreds of people, I've never had someone say, bleep you, don't ever bring this up again. So I really kind of look at it as, if it's not for someone right now, it's just a matter of time. And if you all know, I joke about Elliot and I being the good triers, we're just the persistent ones who will never leave Isagenix. So eventually we just assume everyone is going to want to join us at some point in their life, whether it's now or another 10 years from now, who knows? But if you take on, so mindset tip number 1 is just really understand that it is all about timing, and it is up to us to genuinely be interested in what's going on in people's lives, such that when things change for them, which on average, every 90 days, 6 months, things are changing constantly in people's lives, that you'll be ready and paying attention when the door cracks open for someone to have a serious look at Isagenix And to know that when someone says no, or I don't feel like this is for me, what I hear, it's almost like I have like a hearing aid, a little Bluetooth in. It's a baby Bluetooth, like Zoolander, teeny tiny. You can't see it. But when someone says no, I hear, hey, Lindsay, it's just like not a good time for me, but probably later on. I don't hear the word no. I truly don't, because I've been doing this long enough. And if those of you who may not know, I've been with Isagenix for 8 years. Yeah, over 8 years. And I have seen it time and time and time again where it is all about the timing. So the first mindset hack to really cement for yourselves is that it is all about timing, and anyone is fair game at any point. It just might not be their time right now. I always like to use these little anchors for myself to keep my mindset in the right place. I've heard a lot of different numbers used, but the premise is the same regardless of the number. That in sales in general, and I think this is absolutely true for our business, is that most sales happen on like the 5th, 6th, or 7th follow-up. The thing that is crazy is even if we know that, most people fail to follow up more than 2 times. So it's almost like if you've ever heard the terminology like 3 feet from gold, there's a great book actually called 3 Feet from Gold, all about how, they were mining for gold and they were digging and digging and digging, and they ended up giving up when they were literally 3 feet from striking gold. And it's kind of, you want to think of it like, I almost created like a game in my mind that, it's almost like, okay, how many follow-ups is this person going to require? Is this a 2 follow-up person, or is this a 22 follow-up person? And it really is just a matter of time to know how many times it's going to take. So the first thing to remember is that most sales, in general, just in the world of sales, do happen on, the average I've heard is 7 to 10 follow-ups, right? That's actually a lot if you think about it. Now, follow-ups, touch points could be they're seeing your social media posts, they're plugged into the group. There's certain systems that we have in place that make it easier and kind of speed up that process. But 7 to 10 follow-ups if someone isn't ready right at the time that you talk to them. So remembering the numbers. And then if you want to go like really big, some of the best people in Isagenix, I really want you to hear these numbers, okay? In the top 5 income earners in Isagenix. So Michael Klaus and Lynn Hagedorn are income earners number 1. Warren Lance, who enrolled Michael Klaus, who then, because of Michael, Lynn came on board. I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, Warren, okay, there's his name. Warren followed up with Michael Klaus for 6 years. 6 years, developed a relationship, built friendship, built trust, would make a point to see him when he was in town. The 2 men did not live in the same place and didn't even really know one another. It's not like they had a friendship before this. But he was able to establish a friendship, followed up with him over 6 years, and then Warren did end up enrolling Michael Klaus, who is now the number 1 income earner in Isagenix. Warren Lance's business, the year he enrolled those, really Michael, who led to Lynn and all these other people, his business doubled in a really, really short period of time, like 100 cycles to 200 within like 3 months. That is the impact that staying consistent and being willing to follow up with someone who is high caliber, especially, that is the kind of impact that you can have. Susan Sly, someone I know who we all know and love, her enrolling sponsor followed up with her, it was 21 or 22 times, either way, more than the average of 7 to 10. And it wasn't like Susan was like, oh, no, thank you. She was like, hell no, not doing this, been burned before. Not all the no's are always kind, but her enrolling sponsor saw the potential in her, knew she had what it took, and so she was willing to hear no over 20 times until she found a way to speak into Susan's life and what was going on with her at the moment. So just 2 examples of, we could share stories for 30 minutes about the power of follow-up and why it is so worth it to continue to develop relationships and cultivate relationships such that when the timing is right, you can use some of the verbiage that we're going to share tonight to crack open that door and have someone seriously take a look at what Isagenix has to offer. So I feel like the best mindset to have is just be in this for the long term. And you all are. I'm preaching to the choir with the people we're talking to right now. But if you're brand new and you're watching this recording and things don't happen for you right away, let me tell you, it is a long-term game. This is, the classic case. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the longer amount of time you spend being diligent and showing your community that you are serious about this, you will start to have people come back to you oftentimes and say, hey, I love it. 8 years in, people still say to me, hey, are you still doing that Isagenix thing? And I'll usually respond like, oh, my full-time business? Yeah, I am. I'm still doing that thing. But sometimes people see that, okay, my friend is, now they're all excited about this nutrition program. Sometimes the people in our lives, they just want to see that we're serious about it. And that this isn't just a fad. This isn't something that we're excited about this week. And next week, we might be on to the next thing. It's probably my number one selling point now that I can look people in the eye and be like, look, I've got 8 years experience in this. I know the products are amazing. The business is amazing. Like, are you ready yet? Should we just do this thing? But that takes time. So anything you want to add on that front, Jen, being in the first 2 years in your own business?
Yeah, I would say the point you made about this being a long-term game, the qualifier would add to that. Oh, hang on. The qualifier that I would add to that is it's a long-term game. Expect that and play the game that way. But be surprised when there are going to be short-term wins. Like, it's not like everybody, like, you are going to have people that literally walk into your life and make a step, on the first conversation you have. And those are awesome, and be surprised by those and celebrate that. But don't let that get in your mind that like, oh, that's how they're all going to be, right? So it's really a mix. It's really the more conversations you have, the quicker things will happen for you. And really just, think about it from a long-term perspective for sure. I will share an anecdote quickly. I have a gal that I went to high school with that she was on my original list of people that I just think Isagenix would be a great fit for her. Started talking to her last July. And now this September, 14 months later, she just enrolled a couple days ago.
Mm.
So that was like follow up, and not like every day, hey, you ready? But, share more about that in just a minute, what some of that follow-up looks like. But it's really, some people will take a long time, but if you see so clearly what is possible for them and you respect their no or their not right now when they give it to you, but continue to add value and stay in touch, it's only a matter of time. Lindsay's spot on with that. And not in like an arrogant way, like, oh, you'll join me eventually. But like the reality is everybody needs good nutrition. Everybody needs convenience. Everybody needs more financial security. So it really is only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. So good. And I think people tend to get like, obviously like Mary and Megan, like they're nodding along. I think people understand like, okay, cool, I need to follow up. I think where we get stuck is, what do I say and how do I follow up without being annoying? So we thought that would probably be the best use of the second half of this conversation is some ideas for how to make it authentic to you. And just like everything that we have taught you, we really want you to take in like what I'll share, what Jen will share. And then if either of you have something you want to contribute, because people will watch the replay, is that we want you to find the approach in all of it, your initial conversations as well as your follow-ups, that does feel authentic to you. So this has grown and evolved for me as I've grown and evolved, where now I have a little bit more posture to be bold, where before I maybe approached it in a little bit different way. But a couple of things that I'll share just in terms of, you always want to be thinking about and creating touch points. Touch points could have something to do with Isagenix or not. And I think this is something all of us on this call right now are great at, is if there is someone who you do know could be amazing at this, are you genuinely showing interest in what's going on in their life? Or are you only hitting them up when we have a seasonal shake or when there's free enrollment? So think about how it would feel for you on the receiving end if you're only getting messages from someone when they have some kind of a promotion versus, do you know what is going on in their lives? Do you pay attention on social media? I have certain people for a while, what I did was I flagged people as, you can add them on your Facebook friends list as close friends. So I would get a notification every time that person would post. It can get it to be a little bit overwhelming, but if you just look at it as a way to, because algorithms and all that, it was a way that the people I really truly wanted to cultivate a relationship with, whether or not they ever joined Isagenix, I could made sure I didn't miss their stuff so that I could interact with it. So I could comment and like and show support. So I'm going to give you kind of like some of the less obvious ways. And then of course we will talk about some verbiage. So number one is be genuinely involved in their life beyond just hitting them up when you have something for Isagenix. Number two is my goal when I have an initial conversation with someone, I'm amazed and I'm so excited if they're like, yeah, sign me up, I want to do this. I mean, that's awesome. And that does actually happen more often than not. Jen was like, yeah, okay, I want it. And is it okay if I enroll 2 people? I said, yes, that's fine. But my true initial goal is to get them plugged in and connected to our Facebook group. So that's my only intention, is to think, how can I add value in a way that they are excited about the idea of plugging into our Facebook community? So how that conversation might go, like let's say we're talking about Isagenix and they're like, yep, gotta think about it, or not the time, it's too expensive, whatever. I already know their goals because we've talked about them. And I love to say something like, hey, no rush on my end. I am here to support you in whatever way I can. Something I'll suggest is we actually give, and listen to how I say this, I say we actually give away the best of our content totally for free. And they're usually like, huh? Like, tell me more. We have an amazing Facebook community where we offer recipe suggestions, meal plan help. There's amazing support and just general healthy lifestyle tips, as well as, we throw in some fun workout challenges every once in a while. You'll just love the energy there. Would you like me to add you? And that way you can kind of just sit back, you can learn more at your own pace, and you can let me know when you're ready. So I love to use the specific verbiage I want to point out is we give away our best, most valuable content totally for free. That, number one, makes someone feel like I actually care about them beyond whether or not they use Isagenix. And that's true, I really do. Number two, it builds value for the system. Like when they're buying the Isagenix system, they're already seeing all this extra value they're getting for free, which actually would cost them hundreds of dollars if they paid a coach to do this kind of, meal plan and workout help for them. So I love to leverage that group because, okay, so if you think about the 7 to 10 touch points, they could easily get 7 to 10 touch points just by spending a week in our Facebook group. Doesn't mean that they'll be ready at that point, but the Facebook group is kind of like a drip marketing campaign, which is keeping Isagenix subtly in front of them at the forefront of their minds without it having to come from you every day being like, hey, are you ready? Are you ready now? How about now? Are you ready now? True story. I mean, and this just goes with the longevity piece. I've had people plugged into that group for 2 to 3 years that I forget are there because they never comment. They never like anything. I forget that they're in the group. And then one of them was like a previous client who's an architect I used to work with who messaged me out of the blue one day and said, hey, so I'm really interested in the 30-day cleanse. And I literally was like, I haven't posted. And I remember just answering back and kind of starting this dialogue, and turns out he had been in the group, totally forgot he was there. So leverage the resources like that. And then the other tip is make sure you are interacting with people's content on social media, whether that be Instagram or Facebook, so that they're seeing the things that you're putting out there. because then it sets you up to have it not be weird when you circle back around and you do send that message checking in, just to touch base and see, is it a better time for them now? So I'll have Jen, maybe if you want to chime in on any of that, and then share some of the verbiage when you do actually send a message to follow up. What does some of your words sound like, or what has worked well for you?
Yeah, and I will just add, what you were mentioning, Lindsay, about the Facebook group and the power of it. It really is powerful when it's working. And so that's why as a team, the more we can all be in there and be interacting and posting and sharing. I think one of the most powerful things is when we share our own transformations, the mini ones that happen along the way, and sometimes even just periodically sharing like, oh, this is what my first 30 days looked like. That is so powerful. I have, similar to Lindsay, I've had people that are in the group. I had one gal, I put her in there. She was a no, but she was willing to be in the group. And then 3 weeks later, she messaged me and she literally said, damn, those transformation photos, sign me up.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But people can feel when it's real. When we just throw a bunch of junk in that group, because we're like, I feel like, I haven't posted in a while, I better throw something in there. I mean, nobody is going to be like, I'm inspired by that. But when we share honestly, and I think Elliot's not on the call tonight, but he's great about when something's on his heart, he just puts it in there. When we share honestly in there, and again, a really easy, kind of gimme post is to every once in a while just share what your first 30-day transformation looked like, because that's relatable to people. That's huge if we keep that group really active and providing value. And Lindsay, can you share in the comments when we post this video that language you use when you're asking people if they want to be a part of the group?
Yes.
It's so powerful when the way you put it together.
Cool.
But I would say, when I think about following up with people, I kind of, in my mind, I'm always thinking of the phrase, okay, I've got 2 buckets. One is going to be how you follow up with someone that you were having the conversation and they just totally ghosted. That's one, right? Yeah. And the other is someone who actually got to the point where they said no or not right now. So for the people who said no or not right now, and there kind of was an end to that part of the conversation, every time I'm following up, I'm always thinking, I thought of you because. And as often as I can, I actually try and have the text message include, or the voice message. That's very powerful to be able to send the voice message rather than just typing something. But I'll have it say, I thought of you because. One of my favorite things to do is if I'm at an event, one of our big events like a celebration or NYKO, or at a Saturday, or even just tuning into a training call or listening to a podcast. If I hear something that makes me think of a person that I have been following up with, I will text them and I will say, hey, it's been a while since we talked, or, hope you're having a great week, whatever the little pleasantry is. And then I'll say, hey, I thought of you because I was running this morning listening to a podcast and they were talking about XYZ. And it made me think about when we talked about this earlier. So I'll think of something. That's my kind of hack for how I can add value, is to use that, something I listened to, something I'm at, something I just saw, and then use that I thought of you because. Because I know oftentimes with follow-up, we're saying add value, and that can be like, well, what does that mean? How do I add value? Well, you're adding value just by saying to a person, I thought of you. That's adding value. You were on their mind because something they said stuck with you, and you saw something and you thought of them. So don't underestimate that. That is one of my, I think, easiest ways to do, to really add value in my follow-up. So there's that. And I can't tell you how many times when I'm at an event that has resulted in an enrollment, because they'll have seen pictures while I'm at the event. They'll have seen pictures of what I'm doing. And then, there's all this excitement and I'm going live showing Flow Rider performing or whatever. And then they get a text from me and it's like, wow, she thought of me and she was in all of that. So that's huge. The other thing is really, it's leveraging the promos. You have to find the language that works for you, because if you don't, people won't likely respond. It'll feel like a copy and paste. And while you can copy and paste with some personalization, you do have to find language that resonates with you. So I will have kind of a group of people that are on my list that I feel like I'm kind of in the heart of the conversation with them. Like, we'll talk about it and it's kind of like, they're still not sure, but I can tell it's not like a for sure no. Those are people that when there's a promo that's coming around, whether it's like, maybe they said they couldn't afford it and then all of a sudden there's a free shipping promo for a week, I will reach out to those people and say, hey, pleasantry, whatever. I thought of you because Isagenix is actually offering free shipping this week. I know last time we chatted, you were a little concerned from the expense side, would now be a better time. So I will do like the really straightforward reach outs like that, and just be really clear in my intention and why I'm reaching out with them. If it's someone that, like I know, they mentioned cost was an issue. When those promos come up, I will reach out on those. I think the other thing that's really powerful is the when we're doing like the 11-day reboot, that is a great way to, we're talking about following up to enroll someone, but there's also following up to re-engage maybe current customers that have fallen off completely or really, greatly decreased to like, 1 box of Wathans every other month or something like that. I have that person. But, follow-up is also for following up with people within your team to re-engagement. And those things like the 11-day reboot are huge for that. And every time we do one of those, we're in the group, we're sharing what's working with messaging, sharing ideas there. So leverage those things. And also what Lindsay said about painting the vision big. When our company, when Isagenix offered, announced that promotion to go to Disney, or they announced the promotion for Machu Picchu, whatever a big promotion like that is, I will reach out to some people that aren't even enrolled yet and say, hey, I know when we were in Disney earlier this year, you had mentioned you really wished you could bring your family to Disney. Can I share with you about an opportunity that might make that happen for you? So don't be afraid to think really big when these promos come out with Isagenix, and how you might use that as a way to follow up with someone. Don't just discount because they're not already in that they might not be interested or that might not be viable for them. So that's kind of some of the things I think about when I'm following up with people. And then the other thing that I read recently that I just wanted to share because it's been huge for me. I've been reading this book, or I read it actually because it was super short, that I saw kind of floating around recommendations for. It's called Freakishly Effective Social Media for Network Marketing. I'm not going to rave about the whole book right now. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. They gave a language hack in there that while I didn't love it exactly, I modified it to work for me, and it was huge because we all have those people that they comment on a post or you reach out and they're interested. And then, you try and follow, the flow the way you're supposed to, that you are going to set up a time for you guys to talk, and then you send them the video or set up the 3-way call, and they're not working into the flow, right? They're kind of like, well, just send me something and I'll look at it, but I'm interested. And then you get stuck in this like crazy follow-up loop where you're not sure where you are in the conversation, and, one person texts and then they wait a week. Anyways, so one of the things that they had suggested is if you have been like in a conversation with someone and then it's been, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, even up to maybe 2 weeks, that like just radio silence from them, you don't want to just be messaging them over and over. Hey, just checking in. Did you watch the video yet? Like it's just that it's not going to work in most cases. So what they suggested, and I'm just going to read it to you guys, is that you reach out and you say, and just out of the blue, even though they were the one who quite frankly stiffed you or ghosted you, to message them and say, hey, I apologize. I've been so busy helping new customers and people within my team that I totally dropped the ball in following up with you. How are you doing? And that to me was like so powerful to think of like the people that I was stuck with, and I knew just saying, just checking.
Hey, do you want to answer my message?
Right? Like, hey, you ready? I knew it was working and I knew it wasn't going to work, and it felt icky to keep sending. Then I didn't, and then I was like, well, I guess I lost that conversation. So that idea of if you're stuck and it's been a couple days or a couple weeks, to really just say like, hey, I'm sorry, my bad. I totally dropped the ball in following up. How are you doing? They're going to respond to that, especially since you said, how are you doing? That's not a hard question to answer,
That's really powerful in sales as far as the gym goes too, because then they feel like the accountability is completely off them and their guard instantly falls. So that's a great hack.
Yeah, that was huge because I had this like growing list of people that was like, well, we kind of had the conversation. We never really got to know or yes or to anything. And then I was like, okay, and that. So that was huge for reopening a lot of conversations for me. So I wanted to share that one really specifically. Just the idea of like, hey, I'm sorry, I have been so busy, like maybe you mentioned a promotion to them. So I was saying getting people set up with this promotion or whatever language you want to insert in there, totally dropped the ball. And following up, how are you doing? So, it doesn't work every time, but it definitely has opened some conversations for me. So those are some of the quick things I wanted to share, is to really just think about how you add value and kind of use that I thought of you because hack, because it writes half the message for you. To consider using voice messages. You can do that for sure in Facebook Messenger, and you can do it sometimes when you're just texting people. I don't know if you have to have the same type of phone or what it is, but that's powerful because they can hear your voice then it's a lot harder to ignore. And when you send that too, you can always follow it up with a written text. Hey, did that come through? So that if they don't quite understand like how you get a voice text or whatever, like there's something written down. So those would be kind of like my biggest tips, I think, with with that, and I would share one more anecdote about follow-up around mindset. I have another girl I have been following up with for a while because she posts things on social media. Like, she wants this. When we had our initial conversation, it was like so heartfelt why she wanted to make a change. It was so clear. And it was kind of one of those, like, she keeps getting in her own way kind of thing. And so I followed up again with her again most recently. And, you know, what she said to me was like, you know what, it's really still, it's not my time right now. But then she said, but I want to thank you because you are so good at what you do that you keep following up with me and you haven't forgotten about me yet. So where I could have said, and so she didn't sign up. So it wasn't like success value pack. It was success that, like, validation for me, quite frankly, because sometimes I can fall into that pit. I think everyone can, where you're like, I don't want to bother someone. And to her, it was, thank you for not forgetting about me. So think about that. And when you go into your follow-ups, expect that that's what people's are thinking. Use that in your mind rather than thinking, I don't want to bother them. Think how amazing they are going to feel, that they are so valuable that I will continue to follow up with them.
I love that. And I think one of the resources that I'd love to see us build is maybe a library. It could just be under the files tab. We can just like copy and paste some of our, like, you know, there's certain messages you send where you're like, yeah, that one was awesome. Like that was great verbiage. So I think if we just start to create a resource where people can just get inspiration around like, okay, how would I say this? The one you mentioned is awesome about taking the responsibility, like, hey, I dropped the ball, I haven't followed up. So maybe we can get that started just under the files tab in the business group. Because I think seeing actual verbiage always has helped me with coming up with my own response in my own way. So I was thinking about that as a little follow-up to this conversation.
Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add? Otherwise, I will issue a little end of the call challenge to people. And then
Go for it.
All right. So we shared some different ideas about how to really get your head in the right place when you're doing follow-up, and even some different ways, whether it's the language around if somebody ghosts you, taking the onus and saying, sorry, I dropped the ball, or leveraging a promo, or even adding value with the I thought of you because. So I want to challenge people to pick 2 people off of your list that you reached out to, and people, quite frankly, that you were excited about, that the conversation either was a no, not right now, or just kind of trailed off. Take 2 people off the bench and reach out to them. So if you are on this call live, do that tomorrow. That will take, 5 to 10 minutes? And whoever is watching the recording, when you watch this recording, do it within 24 hours. Because when you take immediate action, you're more likely to actually take the action. And I'm telling you, everybody can find 10 minutes to do that. Take 2 people off of your follow-up list and try one of these ideas around adding value or leveraging a promo or using the ghosting language, whatever resonated with you. So that's the challenge.
Challenge accepted.
All right. And then last call for ICU. Get your tickets, people. It's not too late. Chicago. It's going to be amazing.
I have serious FOMO. It's going to be such an awesome event.
Kathy Coover is going to be there. And Kathy Savage. All the Kathys.
If your name is Kathy, you just kind of have to be there, I think.
Really. And if it's not Kathy,
yeah, you also have to be there.